The virus on my phone unleashed a cascade of unwanted links, one of which featured a salacious image and a caption that screamed, "Epic. Must-see scandal." My finger, acting of its own accord, tapped the link. It opened a surreptitiously filmed video, clearly shot from the angle of a hidden camera in a hotel room. It depicted a couple engaged in intimate activities, seemingly unaware their escapade was being recorded for posterity and, unfortunately, for the internet. This kind of thing was, sadly, common enough. I was about to close the tab when the woman's voice, suddenly clear amidst the sounds of their revelry, sent a jolt through me. It was her. The woman I held in the palm of my hand. The woman I loved to the very marrow of my bones. My girlfriend. I stared, transfixed, at the screen, at the wanton displays of affection between the two figures. The shameful images, coupled with that achingly familiar voice, struck me like a physical blow. I froze, rooted to the spot, as if instantly petrified. Impossible. That can't be. Cecilia. I love her so much. She's such a good girl. She would never betray me. My first conscious thought, after the initial shock, was denial. I knew Cecilia. At least, I thought I did. She was demure, almost prudish. During our 3 years together, even the most innocent of on-screen kisses during our movie dates would send a blush creeping up her neck, and she'd avert her gaze. We'd lived together for 2 years, yet the most intimate we'd ever been was holding hands. She had repeatedly, earnestly told me that she wanted to save the most precious gift for our wedding night. She had her flaws, of course, but I loved her deeply. We'd been together for over 3 years. A sudden betrayal like this was unthinkable. Maybe it's just someone who sounds like Cecilia. I told myself, desperately trying to calm the rising tide of panic and avoid jumping to conclusions. I clung to that fragile hope, but reality, cruel and unyielding, soon slapped me in the face. The woman in the video removed her blindfold. Her entire face was revealed, undeniably, unequivocally Cecilia. I stared at Cecilia's flushed, pale face on the screen. After a brief moment of stunned disbelief, I crumbled. I couldn't reconcile this image with the Cecilia I knew, the modest, shy, dignified woman I'd loved for 3 years. What truly shattered me, though, was when the man removed his blindfold. It was Cecilia's childhood friend, Benedict. In other words, the woman I cherished had betrayed me, with her childhood friend, and the evidence was now circulating on the internet. Until that moment, my chest had been a tempest of conflicting emotions: rage, bewilderment, disbelief. Cecilia had always told me that Benedict was like a younger brother to her, a companion from her earliest years. But what were they doing? It was as if I'd never truly known Cecilia. In my memory, she was the epitome of virtue: kind, intelligent, gentle, and traditional. She was like the perfect heroine from a romance novel. I often congratulated myself on finding such a wonderful woman. Our meeting had been accidental. 5 years ago, fresh out of university and struggling to make my way in this city, I was hit by Cecilia, who was riding her bicycle. I ended up in the hospital with a broken leg. She cared for me in the hospital for over a month. I was gradually captivated by this kind, gentle soul. After I was discharged, I pursued her relentlessly. The pursuit lasted 2 years. It wasn't until the 3rd year that she finally agreed to be my girlfriend. But she firmly refused to let me cross the final line, insisting on preserving that intimacy for our wedding night. While I was frustrated, I was also secretly pleased. I believed I had found a rare and precious gem, a woman of true virtue. But this woman, my supposed future wife, had betrayed me, and in the most humiliating way imaginable. Not long after Cecilia and I moved in together, Benedict decided to come to our city to seek his fortune. Newly graduated and short on funds, he asked if he could stay with us for a few days. The intrusion of a third party into our idyllic, if chaste, existence was naturally unwelcome. But I was already deeply in love with Cecilia, and I indulged her in everything. I didn't object. Little did I know that this concession would mark the beginning of my nightmare. I first met Benedict at the high-speed rail station. Upon seeing Cecilia, he threw himself into her arms, completely disregarding the stares of onlookers. They embraced without a shred of reservation. I was stunned. Even siblings, let alone childhood friends, wouldn't be that lacking in boundaries, would they? But Cecilia assured me that they had always been this affectionate, hugging and cuddling since they were children. She told me not to overthink it. After the 3 of us began living together, Cecilia insisted on bringing Benedict along to the movies. She insisted on bringing him to dinner on Valentine's Day. They would even, in moments of exuberance, kiss, hug, and lift each other up. They seemed more like a couple than Cecilia and I did. At the time, I felt both hurt and a sense of absurdity. My girlfriend was flirting with another man, while I, her boyfriend, had to ask permission just to hold her hand. Despite my discomfort, I, who had never experienced true love before, was terrified of losing what I perceived as a hard-won relationship and a wonderful girlfriend. I turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to their intimacy. I repeatedly told myself that they were childhood friends, that their closeness was normal, and that, as a man, I should be magnanimous. However, the more magnanimous I appeared, the more brazen Cecilia and Benedict became. Wash these, will you? A few months ago, while I was doing laundry, Benedict tossed his underwear on my head, a sneer playing on his lips. In that instant, the anger I had been suppressing for so long erupted. I punched him. We grappled, wrestling on the wet bathroom floor. In the struggle, I slipped and fell, breaking my arm. Cecilia, however, showed no concern for my injury. Instead, she unleashed a torrent of accusations and insults. "Arthur, are you insane? My friend asked you to wash a piece of clothing. How dare you react with such violence? Are you even human? How can I trust you after this? How can I believe you can make me happy?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she checked on Benedict. "Benedict, are you all right? Don't worry. He dared to hit you, and he'll pay for it." Then, turning her fury on me, she shrieked, "Arthur, what are you waiting for? Get down on your knees and apologize to my brother. Otherwise, I'm done with you." Her childhood friend had humiliated me, and yet she demanded that I kneel and apologize. Seeing Cecilia's unwavering defense of Benedict, I felt as if I had plunged into an icy abyss, cold, suffocated, and consumed by rage. I stared at them. Benedict shot me a provocative look, then feigned sympathy. "Cecilia, maybe we should just let it go. He is your boyfriend, after all. Making him kneel and apologize might be a bit excessive. Benedict, you're my childhood friend. Him hitting you is the same as hitting me. Making him kneel and apologize is already being lenient. If he doesn't kneel and apologize today, there's no future for us. We're breaking up right here, right now." Cecilia glared at me, waiting for my apology. I was drenched in sweat, my face pale with pain, but she never once asked how I was, how badly I was hurt. My girlfriend was humiliated me, siding with the other, even forced me to apologize. Did my status as her boyfriend mean less to her than her childhood friend? Seeing my silence and my furious expression, Cecilia rushed forward, grabbed my collar, and slapped me across the face more than a dozen times, drawing blood from the corner of my mouth. "Arthur, you've got some nerve, haven't you? Daring to defy me, to glare at me. Who gave you the audacity? I'm giving you one last chance. If you're not kneeling and apologizing to Benedict when we get back, we're over." With that, Cecilia dragged Benedict out to eat. I, in excruciating pain, went to the hospital alone. The doctor said I needed surgery to set the bone and required a family member's signature. I called Cecilia, but when she heard I had a fracture, she didn't express any concern for my condition. Instead, she coldly said it was my fault, that I deserved it, and that if I didn't go back and kneel in apology, she would never forgive me. At that moment, my heart turned to ice. Yes, it was my fault. I was the fool, the lovesick puppy. During those days in the hospital, I often stared at the ceiling, thinking, she treated me like this, shouldn't I give up? Shouldn't I leave? This woman isn't worth loving. A lovesick puppy's fate is to end up with nothing. But I couldn't bear to let go. I still harbored the fantasy that she would come to her senses, that if I treated her even better, loved her even more, perhaps our future would be bright. It wasn't until I saw that scandalous video that I realized I was the clown in this circus. They were carrying on their affair with reckless abandon, claiming it was just brotherly love, and I, like an idiot, believed them. I washed their clothes, cooked their meals, and fantasized about working hard to make Cecilia the happiest woman in the world. Cecilia pretended to be pure and traditional, refusing intimacy and claiming she wanted to save the most precious gift for our wedding night. Yet she was shamelessly indulging in pleasure with Benedict in front of thousands of viewers. And I, the oblivious fool, thought I had found a virtuous girlfriend. Thinking back on all those past events, whether it was the so-called saving the most precious gift or various incidents in our daily life, I suddenly felt like I had been manipulated, gaslight. Every past action felt like a whip lashing against my back, mocking me for being a naive idiot, a lovesick puppy who was being manipulated. At that moment, I finally woke up. My love and obsession for Cecilia vanished in an instant, replaced by an unprecedented hatred. Fine, they conspired to cheat me out of my money, my affections, my devotion. This couldn't end here. Those two shameless scoundrels had to pay the price. I immediately took a week off from work. I secretly installed surveillance cameras in the house and, during working hours, hid and watched the footage, intending to gather evidence of their misdeeds. Not long after I left, the two of them left the house, acting all lovey-dovey. I hailed a taxi and followed them. When I reached their destination, I exploded with rage. I almost couldn't stop myself from rushing in, kicking down the door, and tearing Cecilia and Benedict limb from limb. These two degenerates weren't satisfied with their games at home and in hotels. They had the audacity to have their affair in the new house I had bought with my hard-earned savings and a loan from my family. The house had been renovated but never lived in. It was supposed to be our marital home, and now it was defiled by those two animals. I waited for a full 3 hours before the two of them finally finished and left. After they were gone, I used my key to open the door. Seeing the floor littered with various unspeakable items and the lingering smell of debauchery in the air, I wanted to set the house on fire, burning it down along with those two. Finally, I suppressed my disgust and quickly installed cameras in every corner of the house. I took one last look at the ruined room, closed the door, and left. I returned home. I didn't see the two of them, but I heard their voices coming from the bathroom. Unbelievable, they were taking a bath together. Even though I already knew Cecilia had betrayed me, at that moment, I was still on the verge of exploding with anger. Perhaps it was the sound of the running water, or perhaps they thought I was still at work, but they didn't realize I had returned. Benedict said, without a trace of shame, "Cecilia, my love, be a little nicer to that idiot Arthur lately. Raising a dog requires a balance of looseness and tightness. You have to throw him a few bones occasionally. Otherwise, he might run away, and we'll lose a lovesick puppy to earn money for us." Cecilia's voice followed, giggling, "Don't worry. That fool has been thoroughly trained by me over the past few years. He's become a truly devoted lovesick puppy. Even after I humiliated him so badly last time, he still came crawling back, apologizing. Like I said, if I just lift a finger, he'll obediently kneel down and lick our boots." Hearing this, my eyes were bloodshot. I felt like I was on fire, consumed by rage. I wanted to rush in and tear those two to shreds. However, for the sake of my plan, to ensure their complete and utter ruin, I forcibly suppressed my anger. Benedict's voice spoke again. "Just handle it as you see fit. By the way, how are things going with Lord Ashworth?" Cecilia's tone became instantly smug. "Great. He can't get enough of me. He gave me 300,000 yesterday and is urging me to meet his parents to discuss marriage." I was shocked and furious. Cecilia, that vile woman, not only cheated on me with Benedict, but the two of them were also conspiring to commit fraud. Who was so blind as to fall for this wretch? Benedict was delighted. "Excellent, excellent. Cecilia, my love, you're truly something else. You've even managed to make a wealthy young lord fall at your feet and become your lovesick puppy." "Cecilia, I was thinking, since I've hooked Lord Ashworth, maybe I should break up with that poor Arthur." "Are you stupid?" Benedict interrupted Cecilia with a chuckle. "Although Arthur is a bit poor, he serves us well. Isn't it nice to have such a free servant? We can also abuse him from time to time. Isn't it fun to find some amusement? Besides, didn't he hand over his salary card to you? His monthly income of over 10,000 is a bit low, but every little bit helps." Cecilia's cooing voice quickly followed. "Benedict, you're so good at managing things. I'll listen to you." Outside the door, I was trembling with rage. At that moment, I finally understood. From the very beginning, Cecilia had been deceiving me. She had simply used me as a cash cow, a tool to earn money for her. And that wasn't all. These two scoundrels even took pleasure in tormenting me. And I, the fool, had always believed she was a good girl, convinced she was the perfect wife for me, loving her desperately, indulging her unconditionally, even tolerating her flirting with Benedict right under my nose. I'm the biggest idiot in the world. I was afraid that if I stayed any longer, I wouldn't be able to control my rage and would rush in and kill those two. So, I forced myself to suppress my anger and stormed out of the house. "Wretch, I'll make you infamous, and you'll die a miserable death." Downstairs, I looked up at my floor and swore silently. After several days of careful planning, I had devised a meticulous scheme. The first step was to recover the money I had given her over the years. I colluded with a good friend of mine. We concocted a story that he had an excellent property that he was willing to sell to me at a low price. I told Cecilia that if we bought it and resold it immediately, we could make a profit of several $100,000. Upon hearing about the potential profit, Cecilia didn't hesitate and gave me $1.8 million. As soon as I received the money, I instructed my friend to stall her and not complete the transaction. Next, I went to see Cecilia's parents. If I was going to stage a grand play, how could I leave them out? Her parents didn't have stable jobs. They had a good-for-nothing son who spent his days idling around. I heard he had recently gotten a classmate pregnant, and the family was worried about how to appease the girl's family. Mr. and Mrs. Lancaster, I plan to propose to Cecilia. I'm here today to ask for your support. I got straight to the point. The old couple exchanged glances. Her mother said, Arthur, you and Cecilia have been together for 3 years. It's time to talk about marriage, but marriage is not a simple matter. I quickly adopted a humble posture. Yes, that's why I'm here today, to discuss it with you. I've come with the utmost sincerity. As I spoke, I raised one finger. Mr. Lancaster, my family will provide a dowry of $1 million. How much? The two elders jumped up from their chairs, their eyes wide with disbelief. $1 million. $1 million. They were so shocked their eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Then, their attitude towards me took a 180-degree turn. Oh dear, look at my memory. Arthur has been here for so long, and I forgot to offer him some water. What Arthur? Call him son-in-law. He's going to be part of our Lancaster family. Dear, go wash some fruit for our son-in-law. Yes, son-in-law. The old couple was so overjoyed they didn't know what to say. Their mouths were practically stretched to the backs of their heads. At this point, I heard the sound of video games coming from the inner room. It was undoubtedly Cecilia's useless brother. I changed the subject. Mr. and Mrs. Lancaster, I hear I'm about to become an uncle. Congratulations. Hearing my words, Mrs. Lancaster sighed. That's right. But the other family thinks that Thomas doesn't have a job or a house, so they don't want their daughter to marry him. I smiled. That's a small matter. Leave the job to me. A friend of mine is starting a company. I'll put in a good word for him, and Thomas can be a department manager. What do you think? Her parents were so excited they almost jumped up and down like children. Arthur, son-in-law, from the first moment I saw you, I knew we were family. Isn't that right? Dear, I told you long ago that Cecilia would be safe with him. He's a reliable young man. Cecilia's good fortune, our family's good fortune. I forced down my disgust and continued to play along with the old couple. After setting the trap, I told them that I wanted to surprise Cecilia with the proposal and that they shouldn't tell her yet. Then, I politely declined their offer to stay for dinner and left. That evening, I managed to get hold of Cecilia's phone. I found her chat logs with Lord Ashworth and took screenshots. I also saw her chat logs with Benedict. This confirmed once again that Cecilia's image of being traditional, pure, and demure was completely fabricated. Their chat logs were utterly disgusting. I also discovered that during our 3 years together, besides her inappropriate relationship with Benedict, she had secretly dated 8 other men, cheating each of them out of a sum of money before kicking them to the curb. It was only then that I realized she hadn't accepted my pursuit out of affection. She was looking for a long-term meal ticket, a tool to earn money for her. Good. I put you in my heart, and you treat me like a stupid dog. Cecilia, I'll show you what the wrath of an honest man looks like. This discovery further fueled my hatred for Cecilia. I couldn't find the contact information for the other victims, but I copied down Lord Ashworth's number. That was enough. Everything was ready. All I needed was the wind to blow. That evening, Cecilia said her best friend had invited her to go shopping, and she left. Not long after, Benedict also left. It was obvious. They were probably going to have another rendezvous, and the location was, of course, my new house. The show begins. Watching Benedict's retreating figure, a cold smile crept across my lips. I then disguised myself and took a taxi to the new house. Sure enough, before I even arrived, I saw them on the surveillance camera, hugging and cuddling in the living room. Your girlfriend is cheating on you. I sent a text message to Lord Ashworth. He quickly called back, but I hung up. However, I sent him a screenshot of the two of them entangled in the room, along with the address. Brother, this is all I can do for you. Having done all this, I hid in the emergency stairwell, waiting for the storm to arrive. Half an hour later, a young man, accompanied by 4 or 5 burly men, arrived, filled with rage. The door was kicked open, and Cecilia's screams echoed through the building, attracting neighbors who gathered to watch the spectacle. I secretly mingled with the crowd, witnessing everything. The two of them were disheveled, their faces filled with panic. Cecilia, trying to maintain her composure, shouted, "Alistair, what are you doing?" Lord Ashworth, furious beyond words, pointed at Benedict and screamed, his eyes red with anger. "What am I doing? I'll do your mother. Didn't you say he was your brother? What were you doing?" Faced with the accusation, Cecilia's eyes darted around. She shamelessly said, "Husband, you misunderstood. We weren't doing anything. My back was hurting, and Benedict was giving me a massage." Benedict chimed in with a smirk. Yes, brother-in-law, she's my sister. You don't think there's anything going on between us, do you? Young man, don't have such dirty thoughts." The two of them thought they could fool him, but in the next second, they fell into the abyss, their faces ashen. "You're making a fool of me. Unshamed wretch. Do any siblings roll around on a bed together?" With that, Alistair Ashworth opened his phone, displaying a photo of the two of them naked and intertwined. The high-definition image left them no room to deny it. "Husband, listen to me." Cecilia, panicked, tried to explain and rushed forward to grab Alistair's hand, but he kicked her away brutally. "Listen to your mother, you shameless slut. I loved you so much, and you put horns on my head. You dog, you dare to put horns on me? I swear I'll kill you today." With 4 or 5 men attacking him at once, Benedict was no match. He curled up on the ground like a beaten dog, screaming in agony. The sight was immensely satisfying to me. There were many onlookers, but not a single person tried to intervene. Infidelity was rampant these days, and most people despised it. Why would anyone sympathize with such a situation? Besides, this scene of catching adulterers in the act was simply too captivating. Who wouldn't want to watch a little longer? Cecilia, who had never witnessed such a scene, was terrified. She cowered in a corner, trembling, and threatened, "Stop it. If you don't stop, I'm calling the police." Alistair laughed. He rushed over, grabbed Cecilia's hair, and slapped her repeatedly, sneering, "Call them. Do you, a prostitute, even dare to call the police?" After being brutally slapped and called a prostitute, Cecilia exploded. "You. You're the prostitute. Your whole family are prostitutes. If you don't stop, I'm really going to call the police." "Right, you're not a prostitute. After all, even prostitutes aren't as filthy as someone who sleeps with the person they call brother. You shameless, rotten woman, call them if you dare." Alistair wasn't intimidated by the threat. Benedict, who was being beaten, heard the word police and urgently tried to stop her. Don't call the police." This outburst excited the onlookers, who began to speculate about what other secrets might be hidden that made them afraid to call the police. And there were other secrets. Cecilia and Benedict weren't simply having an affair. If the police were called, they would inevitably be investigated for using romance to defraud men of money, which would lead to jail time and hard labor. Alistair, after all, was a man of status. This incident escalating would be bad for his and his family's reputation. After beating the two of them soundly, Alistair agreed to let them go, on the condition that Cecilia signed a promissory note promising to repay the $1.2 million she had spent within a week. Watching the two of them kneel and kowtow, begging for mercy like stray dogs, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. But this was only the beginning. The real show was yet to come. That evening, I pretended to come home from work. Seeing Cecilia's swollen face, I feigned surprise. "Cecilia, what happened to your face? Were you beaten?" Cecilia's eyes flickered with panic. She quickly shook her head in denial. No. I ate something wrong and had an allergic reaction." "Arthur, there's something I want to discuss with you. Can you get the money back from your friend for the house?" "Let's not buy the house for now. I have an urgent need for the money." I laughed inwardly. That was my hard-earned money. Why would I give it to her to pay off her debts? "I'll call and ask." After pretending to make a phone call, I said with a troubled expression, "That bastard went to Africa. I can't reach him." Before I could finish speaking, Benedict, also sporting a swollen face, rushed out of the inner room and said impatiently, "You have 3 days. Get us $1.2 million immediately, or else." Previously, to please Cecilia, I had tolerated Benedict's antics. But now, I wouldn't tolerate his barking at me any longer. I slapped him across the face. "Who do you think you are, barking at me like that? Get lost." This slap stunned both Cecilia and Benedict. They stared at me, dumbfounded. In the past, I had always been submissive and docile in front of them. When had I ever dared to be so assertive? After a moment of shock, Benedict started yelling and clawing, trying to attack me, but Cecilia stopped him. Enough. She had lost her patience. She glared at me coldly. Arthur, no matter what you have to do, you must get that 1.8 million back to me within 3 days. This is an order. An order? Does she really think I still don't know anything? That I'm still the lovesick puppy who obeys her every command? I smiled coldly and shrugged. No way. I can't get it back. Cecilia's expression stiffened. Arthur, what do you mean? I grinned. Exactly what I said. That 1.8 million will never return to your hands. Not in this lifetime. Benedict instantly shrieked. You surnamed Sue. Are you even a man? Your girlfriend is in trouble, and this is how you treat her? Believe it or not. Stop arguing. It's not the time to say useless things. Cecilia interrupted Benedict, clearly agitated. She took a deep breath and stared at me coldly. Arthur, you must get my money back. Otherwise, we're breaking up. She's using a breakup to manipulate me again. I couldn't help but scoff. You want to break up? Fine by me. Do whatever you want. With that, I turned to leave. Remembering the stunned, incredulous expressions on their faces as I walked away, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Over the next few days, Cecilia called me frantically, demanding that I find a way to get the 1.8 million back. I ignored all her calls. Finally, she had no choice but to take out a high-interest loan to repay Alistair. After that, Cecilia continued to pester me daily to get the 1.8 million back. However, her attitude was much better than before. Perhaps my recent assertiveness had made her cautious, fearing that if she pushed me too far, she would completely lose any chance. Strangely, Benedict disappeared. He hadn't been seen for days. I didn't dwell on this for the time being, because the second round of my attack on Cecilia was about to begin. Cecilia was the star teacher at a dance studio. To attract clients, the studio held regular public dance performances, and she always performed. This month's performance was tomorrow. I called her parents and told them I was going to propose to Cecilia tomorrow and invited them to be witnesses. They agreed joyfully and promised to keep it a secret from Cecilia to maximize the effect. Haha, good son-in-law. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. But what about the dowry? Mr. Lancaster, don't worry. As soon as the proposal is successful tomorrow, I'll immediately transfer the dowry. As soon as I finished speaking, I vaguely heard Mrs. Lancaster excitedly saying to her son on the other end of the phone, Thomas, as soon as your sister's dowry arrives, we'll buy that house we've been eyeing. And go find your father-in-law right away and tell him that our family is giving $500,000 in dowry to marry his daughter. Clearly, their entire family was immersed in immense joy, eagerly anticipating my successful proposal and the transfer of the 1 million dowry. Rejoice. The more excited you are now, the more devastated you'll be tomorrow. Don't blame me for being cruel. Blame your precious daughter for treating me like a dog for 3 years. The next day, I picked up Cecilia's parents from the station on time. Her brother, Thomas, came along as well. The family greeted me with radiant smiles, calling me son-in-law repeatedly. I forced down my disgust and chatted with them along the way. When we arrived at the studio, the dance performance had already begun. The auditorium was filled with spectators. Mr. and Mrs. Lancaster, after Cecilia's performance, I'll go on stage to propose. Everything is arranged. Just sit back and enjoy the show. I glanced at Cecilia, who was preparing to go on stage, and smiled enigmatically. Soon, Cecilia took the stage. Under the lights, her movements were graceful, and her exquisite makeup captivated the audience. The applause grew louder and louder. And I, with my arms crossed, watched Cecilia on stage, brimming with excitement. This moment was finally coming. With a command I sent from my phone, the staff member in charge of the equipment, whom I had bribed, began their operation. The large screen behind the stage, which was supposed to be displaying beautiful accompanying visuals, suddenly switched to a video of Cecilia and Benedict entangled in their affair. The sounds of their amorous moans and shameful cries filled the auditorium. The hundreds of spectators, who had been cheering moments before, were instantly stunned into silence. The large performance hall fell deathly silent. The Lancasters, standing beside me, were dumbfounded. Thomas, still not realizing the gravity of the situation, said somewhat confusedly, Mom, that woman looks like my sister. No, it is my sister. Look at the mole on her neck. Shut up. Don't talk nonsense. Mrs. Lancaster quickly interrupted her son and looked at me nervously. Son-in-law, this person can't be Cecilia. My daughter would never do such a shameless thing. I pretended to be oblivious, staring at the stage in a state of shock and bewilderment. Mr. Lancaster's voice trembled. Son-in-law, there must be some misunderstanding. On stage, who had been performing diligently, heard the familiar sounds and saw everyone in the audience staring at the screen. She instinctively turned to look behind her. The next second, she froze. Below the stage, the studio's managers' faces were ashen, filled with both disgust and rage. For such a thing to happen in such a public setting, their studio was completely finished. Many women in the audience started cursing Cecilia for being shameless. Those who had already signed up for classes demanded refunds. One woman even rushed onto the stage and punched Cecilia in the face. You wretch! What kind of money are you earning, you shameless thing? You're disgracing all women. Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of all women and your parents, you shameless slut. If Cecilia's parents hadn't been standing beside me, and if there hadn't been more drama to come, I would have applauded. Who the hell are you? What I do is none of your business. Cecilia, in pain, covered her face and screamed. But this only invited a more violent onslaught. How is it not my business? I can't stand shameless women like you. You're a disgrace to women, do you understand? It's perfectly reasonable for me to represent all women and teach you a lesson. Cecilia screamed in pain. Many people rushed forward to break up the fight. Some watched the spectacle, and others took out their phones to record videos and post them online. The scene was chaotic. Although her parents were reluctant to admit that was their daughter at this point, they couldn't watch her get beaten to death. They rushed forward to protect Cecilia, using all their strength to pull her away. I looked at Cecilia with a heartbroken expression. I was planning to propose to you today, but I never expected. You and Benedict did such a thing. Why? I love you so much. Why did you do this to me? Before I could finish speaking, the enraged Mrs. Lancaster slapped her daughter across the face twice, roaring like a mad beast. Have you no shame? How could you do such a thing? Where will your father and I show our faces after this? Mr. Lancaster also slapped her daughter repeatedly, pointing at her and screaming hysterically. My entire life's reputation has been ruined by you. You shameless disgrace. Having been inexplicably beaten by a stranger and now by her parents, Cecilia, in a fit of rage, completely lost her composure. She screamed hysterically at her parents, her eyes red with fury. Is this all my fault? Isn't it because you kept asking me for money to support that useless son of yours? Otherwise, would I have shamelessly earned that kind of money? Now that something has happened, you think I've disgraced you? Why don't you think about whether you're even fit to be parents? You're out of control, blaming us for your own shamelessness? If you don't shut up, I'll beat you to death. Mr. Lancaster was furious. Mrs. Lancaster also glared at her daughter and turned to me. Arthur, you've been dating for so long, and you're so in love. She just made a mistake. Don't be impulsive. Then Mr. Lancaster hurriedly said, Yes, young people make mistakes, don't they? Besides, it's not a big deal. Just think of it as a relationship she had with Benedict before she met you. I promise you, I'll never let them see each other again, not even a glimpse. Hearing this, I almost blurted out, Are you kidding me? Do you have no shame? Her daughter treated me like a lovesick puppy, not even letting me touch her, yet she rolled around in bed with another man. And they lightly dismissed it as a mistake, saying it wasn't a big deal, treating it as just a past relationship. Were these words coming from human beings? What did they take me for? An idiot? A cuckold? Seeing my silence, Mrs. Lancaster continued to plead. Yes, young people nowadays, who doesn't have a few relationships before getting married. It's perfectly normal for something to happen. A man shouldn't be so petty. If you're still angry, beat her, scold her to vent your anger. We won't protect her. I was cold and indifferent, not wanting to hear their twisted logic any longer. I raised my hand to interrupt them. Mr. and Mrs. Lancaster, please stop. Such a thing has happened. You may be able to lose face, but I can't. It's impossible for me and her to be together. The Lancasters panicked. Mrs. Lancaster reached out to grab my arm, but I dodged her. She could only plead. Arthur, I know Cecilia wronged you, but can't you give her another chance? Before she could finish speaking, Cecilia screamed, Mom, don't beg him. If we break up, we break up. I don't love him anyway. Don't worry about me not being able to get married. I can always marry Benedict. Shut up. What kind of person is that brat Benedict? Can he compare to Arthur? By the way, where is that animal? Tell him to come here and apologize to Arthur. Just as Mr. Lancaster finished speaking, A group of people rushed over and grabbed Cecilia's hair, starting to beat her. The leader was, surprisingly, Alistair. I was momentarily stunned. Hadn't they reached an agreement? Was there more to this story? Who are you people? Why are you beating my daughter? If you don't explain yourselves, I'm calling the police. Mr. Lancaster protected his daughter and roared at Alistair angrily. Calling the police is a good idea. Let the police judge what kind of principle it is to owe money and not repay it. Alistair looked at Mr. Lancaster coldly. Cecilia, upon hearing this, said indignantly, "You're lying. I already paid you back that 1.2 million. Are you trying to cheat me?" Paid back? Then what's this? With that, Alistair produced the promissory note that Cecilia had signed. Cecilia was instantly stunned. Impossible. Half a month ago, I told Benedict to repay you the money. He also told me he had taken back the promissory note and destroyed it. At this point, Cecilia realized something. Her expression changed drastically as she hurriedly took out her phone to make a call. She dialed again and again. I, standing nearby, clearly heard the message. The number you have dialed is powered off. Clearly, Cecilia had taken out a high-interest online loan and given the money to Benedict to repay Alistair. But Benedict had run off with the money, betraying his beloved. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Good. Heaven truly has eyes. Cecilia, you and Benedict colluded to do unspeakable things, manipulating me like a dog, making me earn money for you. Now, your beloved lover has run off with your money, abandoning you. What a surprise, isn't it? After a brief moment of shock, Cecilia was both shocked and furious. You bastard. You're behind all of this. I glanced at her and sneered. You treated me like a dog. Shouldn't I make you pay a heavy price? Also, I don't think you should be hating me right now. You borrowed so much money from online lenders. If you can't repay it, you know what those people will do to you. Think about how to repay your debts first. The Lancasters were dumbfounded. I had to explain everything to them with a sneer. Hearing that his daughter owed more than 2 million in high-interest loans, Mr. Lancaster, shocked and furious, slapped Cecilia dozens of times and then publicly severed their father-daughter relationship. Ignoring his daughter's cries, he left with his wife and son. Over 1 million. They couldn't repay it even if they sold themselves. What was the use of having such a daughter? Desperate, Cecilia could only beg Alistair to give her another week. Then, she knelt down at my feet, weeping, like a drowning person grasping at a straw, pleading with me. Whoa, Arthur, I was wrong. I was bewitched and listened to that beast Benedict's nonsense. That's why I did so many wrong things. You love me so much. You wouldn't abandon me, would you? Hee. I laughed, looking sarcastically at Cecilia's face, which I used to find so beautiful, but now found so disgusting that I wanted to vomit. What? Are you still trying to make me the fool? Cecilia shook her head rapidly, crying. No. I love you. I was just deceived by Benedict for a while. Please give me another chance. Let's start over. From now on, I'll be obedient and be a good wife, okay? Get lost. I kicked Cecilia away. Wretch, how dare you say such things now? Don't you find yourself disgusting? Do you take me for an idiot? Or do you think I'm still that lovesick puppy who will be manipulated by you, who will forgive and forget with just a little effort, and who will happily come crawling back to you? With that, I turned to leave. Unexpectedly, Cecilia, still clinging to hope, crawled to my feet and hugged my leg. Arthur, I was really just deceived. Please forgive me just once. Let's start over. From now on, I'll be obedient and be a good wife, okay? You've always wanted to sleep with me, right? Come on, I'll let you sleep with me now. As long as you forgive me, I'll do anything. I kicked her away again, my face filled with disgust and loathing. Get lost. Don't defile the word wife. You're filthier than a prostitute now. Just looking at you disgusts me. I hadn't taken more than a few steps when I heard Cecilia's desperate cries from behind. Now even you have abandoned me mercilessly. How am I supposed to live? Well, then go die. I threw those words over my shoulder and left without looking back. Epilogue. About 6 months later, a good friend of mine mysteriously sent me a link, urging me to check it out. Driven by curiosity, I clicked on it. It was a news article. A production base for adult films had been raided, and the female lead was none other than Cecilia. It also said that she had made 100 films in just 5 months and, unfortunately, contracted AIDS. I felt no pity for her. If you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? If she hadn't been so depraved, how would she have ended up like this? Adults must ultimately be responsible for their own actions. Such garbage doesn't deserve sympathy. Surprisingly, Benedict was also arrested. I don't know how the two of them got back together, but it's highly likely he also contracted AIDS. Karma is a wheel. What goes around comes around. The wicked ultimately face their retribution. I closed the phone page and immediately called my friend, inviting him out to celebrate my long-awaited revenge. The end.